Create this lettering style in Procreate in few easy steps. Also, you don't need any experience in Procreate since I'm gonna guide you step by step and I'm gonna make it very easy for you. Here's a recap. Start by playing with some typography, then sketching on top of that letter, then inking the piece, adding few layers of color, play around with the perspective blur on each corner of the letter, adjusting colors with hue, saturation and brightness, and finally coming up with a nice background and filling up the empty spaces. So what do you think? Let's do this? So let's start by creating a new canvas, tap on the plus sign and again on the plus sign. Now I'm gonna choose centimeters and then I'm gonna create a 30 centimeters width times 22 centimeters height. Now the DPI should be at least 300 if you want to print it out later, but I'm gonna put 400 so my size ends up being a bit bigger. Now go to actions, add and then text. Now here you can play with any letter you want, but I'm just gonna play with a single one. In this case I'm gonna choose a letter K and I'm gonna select an italic version of a font. Okay, so now with the transform tool I'm putting it in the middle of the canvas, something like this. And now I'm gonna go back to the transform tool and tap on warp. And then now I'm gonna play around with it. Be sure that you have this option on the bottom left activated. And I'm just gonna exaggerate some of the corners. And now I'm gonna just bring the opacity down. I'm erasing that layer that was by default there. Now I'm gonna create a new one on top of the K. Now select a pencil under the pencil native brushes. Whatever pencil you have, it's gonna work, so don't worry about it too much. And now I'm just gonna sketch this letter K, sort of like I'm gonna freestyle it. And obviously if you're playing with the same letter, you really don't have to draw the exact same thing, but make sure that whatever letter you draw, it ends with these rounded corners. So something around these lines. Okay, I'm satisfied with this, so I'm gonna now erase the first typography that we did. I'm gonna bring the opacity down on my sketch, create a new layer, and now I'm gonna go to the calligraphy native brushes and I'm gonna select something like a script or a monoline. And now I'm just gonna try to ink this piece as good as I can. Start by drawing a single line, and without lifting the pencil off of the screen, you're gonna see that you're gonna be able to play around with this. Now when you lift off, create another one and keep creating little lines so they connect to one another. You could also create the whole K at once, but it's gonna be more complicated. So I would love for you to just create simpler curves so the more complex ones look better after. Okay, so if you see that you don't have enough control over your curves, you can also go to the brush studio, and so for example go to the brush, tap on it, and now go to stabilization and now bring the amount up and down. So play with that until you're satisfied. You're gonna see that the lines are a little bit more steady and it's gonna be easier for you to do curves. This is my last curve, and now I'm gonna drop a color inside, and without lifting the pencil off of the screen, move left and right. You're gonna see that the more right you move, everything is gonna become black, but when you adjust it to the left, it's gonna give you the right amount of paint. Okay, so now I'm gonna erase the first sketch. I'm gonna create a new layer on top of this. And then I'm gonna select the color palette that I'm giving you for free. Remember that to get it, you can follow the link in the description below. Now I'm gonna select this purple. I'm gonna bring this new layer under the K and I'm gonna duplicate it 5 times. Now on the first one, and with the purple selected, I'm gonna draw a similar curve like this on the first corner. So somewhere around these lines. I'm gonna drop the color inside. And now I'm gonna perfect it a little bit with an eraser. You can get as perfectionist as you want here. But you can see that it starts with almost nothing and then it ends up being thicker on the top. So now do the same with all the corners. Maybe this one should be a little bit thicker. So I'll go again. Remember that you can always erase the parts that you don't want after. I think that's good enough now. So now let's go ahead and do the third corner. Something like this. Doesn't have to be perfect. So I think that's good enough. And then I'm gonna do the fourth and last. I'm gonna start right here. Actually, for me, what works is to rotate the screen and go from left to right, just like that. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm just gonna color this fourth part. And now we have the first color in here. So now I'm gonna go to the layers panel and then I'm gonna select the layer underneath that and I'm gonna select another color. Now it's gonna be this blue here and I'll do the exact same thing but with the second color. So I'll leave you to it until we have all the colors and I'll see you in a second. By the way, if you're not satisfied with your curves, you can also go to the transform tool, move it around and then go to warp. And then once you're there, you can go to advanced mesh. And then you can start moving these handles around until you have a better looking shape actually. All right, let's do this. Alright, remember, third layer, third color, the pink. Just a couple more colors, now the fourth. With this orange here. And now fifth layer for the fifth color, a yellow. Okay, so we're done now with the colors. Now go to the selection tool and with the freehand select this whole part. Now select all the layers by sliding them to the right. And now with the transform tool and the warp, we can move them all together like we did before, but since we've selected the 5 of them, now we can move the whole group. Now I'll do the same, selection tool, freehand, select this part, go to the transform tool, warp, advanced mesh, and start moving this around until you're satisfied. Now repeat this with the other two and we're gonna be done with this part. Well, I think the fourth one is good, so I'm not gonna touch it. Now go to the layers panel and tap on group since we had all selected. Now slide this to the left and tap on duplicate. Tap on this second group and tap on flatten. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to selection tool, freehand, I'm gonna select each corner, and then with 3 fingers down the screen, I'm gonna cut and paste. I'll repeat this for the other 3, because I wanna isolate each corner for a new layer. So I'll do the same down here, select, freehand, 3 fingers down, cut and paste. And now we have these 4 individual parts. Select the first one, and now go to adjustments and perspective blur. Okay, so now we have this circle. Move it towards this direction, so up, somewhere right here. And then I'm gonna slide my pencil to the right at about 75% blurriness. Now you can see that the further you move this circle, the more blurry it's gonna be. So I'm gonna bring it outside my artboard a little bit. Somewhere around here is good. Now go back to adjustments and select Gaussian Blur. Gonna add a little bit of Gaussian Blur, not much, maybe like a 4% or a 3, really depends on what you would like to see. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to the layers panel and select this second part, so this one, and I'm gonna repeat the same. So adjustments, perspective blur, I'm gonna bring the circle far, and I'm gonna bring my pencil to around 70-80%, really again depends on what you feel. Now start moving it maybe further and see what looks best. Now do the same with the third one. Remember to also add a Gaussian blur every time you do it. And now with the fourth one, so perspective blur to this direction. And now that I have the main shapes, I'm gonna tap on the transform tool and warp and adjust it a bit. And now another trick to transform this is to go to adjustments and then liquefy. Now tap on push, which is the first option that is gonna appear, and just maybe bring the size down, maybe the pressure up, you know, play around with it. But you know, you can start pushing the shape here and there so it looks better. Now go back to the layers panel and pinch these 4 layers so they are grouped once again. Now tap on the eraser, go to the airbrushing panel and get the soft brush. Now with this brush I'm gonna start erasing maybe like some parts of the group that I don't like. This is just me being a perfectionist as always, so you don't have to do it, but I'm just gonna perfect this a little bit. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna paint these parts that are a bit without color, right? Like for example, let's say soften the way that the black letter is joined by the color layers. So now I'm painting it with a bit of purple, and now I'm gonna change to the blue and do the same. And you can see that it's kinda, I'm trying to make the transition a little bit smoother. So now pink, blue, and purple, and again sort of like the same here. And do this until you see that the blend is kinda seamless. Okay, I'm done now. So now I'm gonna go to the first layer, I'm gonna duplicate it, so the black. I'm gonna go to adjustments and perspective blur. Now I'm gonna bring the circle up here, and then I'm gonna tap in this little arrow and I'm gonna select pencil. Now select a soft brush, and then I'm gonna paint around the black. I'm gonna bring this threshold to the max, and I'm gonna paint around here. So what I'm doing here is the same as before, but since I'm selecting the pencil, the perspective is just gonna be affecting to the part that I'm actually painting on top, right? And now I'm gonna add a bit of Gaussian blur, tap on there and pencil as well. And now the exact same thing. Maybe that's too much, so I'm gonna bring this threshold down. I'm just gonna paint a little bit. Okay, so sometimes this is hard to get, but I'll show you again so you really learn how to do this. Okay, so now I'm just gonna paint this little white part that I have here. So I'm gonna come back to my colors, select the purple, and just give it a bit of color here. Okay, good. So now let's repeat the same steps as before. So go to the first K, adjustments and perspective blur. Tap on the arrow, pencil. Now bring the circle in that direction here, like before. And then I'm gonna select the pencil, the soft brush, bring the size a bit up, and then I'm gonna paint here in the corner. So remember, this perspective blur just gets applied on this part of the letter. Now same with Gaussian blur. Gonna tap on the pencil, bring this threshold down, and maybe even more down, and then slightly touch this corner so it gets a little bit blurry. If you see that it's getting too much blurred out, you can always bring the threshold down by sliding the pencil left and right, or maybe even your finger like I'm doing. Okay, so now let's repeat this in the last two corners. Okay, so we're almost done here. Now go to the layers panel, select the first K, and then slide on the color layer. Now tap on group and then slide and duplicate. Now turn off everything but the first group, tap on it and flatten. Now go to adjustments and then go to noise. Now adjust the amount of noise by moving your pencil from left to right, and I'm leaving it to 23%. Now bring the octaves up to the max, and now you're gonna see that there's different options, but we're gonna stay with clouds. Now I'm gonna adjust the scale. I'm gonna put it around 13%, and I'm gonna go here on this little button and I'm gonna tap on additive and then multi. Again, you can play with these options as much as you want. Maybe I'm just gonna put the scale up to 18%, but yeah, something like that will work. Now go to adjustments, hue, saturation and brightness. And here you can change the overall color, but I'm just gonna put a bit more saturation because when you add noise, the saturation tends to go down. So I'm just gonna leave it around the same colors, just adjust the saturation a bit up. Now I'm gonna duplicate this group, I'm gonna flatten it, and I'm gonna duplicate it again. Now select one and go to the transform tool and start rotating it and making it bigger so we can cover a little bit of our background. Now I'm gonna select the second one and I'll do the same. Just move it around until you're satisfied. Something like this. Now I'm gonna go to the layers panel, create a new layer, and then I'm gonna select the script brush inside your calligraphy brushes. And with the purple color, I'm just gonna draw this sort of drops. Like this. I'm gonna drop a color inside, and then I'll keep doing this with different colors just to cover up a little bit of the space, and so we get like a more dynamic composition. So yeah, keep doing this with different colors and I'll see you in a second. Now I'll do some smaller elements like little dots here and there. Don't overcrowd it too much, but if you know me, you already know that I love covering up blank spaces, but really, you don't have to do it as much as I do. Now I'm gonna select an eraser, a soft brush, and I'm gonna start erasing parts of this drop so they kinda blend with the background. Alright, so now it's time for some noise. So first of all, I'm gonna bring this background all together. I'm gonna go to adjustments, noise, and I'm gonna repeat the same steps as the previous noise, so everything gets the same amount of it. And we are done. Thanks for being here with me, and I hope you found this helpful, and I can't wait to see your results. Also, I wanted to give you a reminder that you can find tons of freebies by joining our community newsletter, link down below. And also give you some huge news. If you want to support us, we just opened a Patreon, and in it you will find a whole lot of premium stuff updated every month. Lots of free brushes, lettering guides, shop discounts, and also 2 tutorials a month. So to get started this month, we've included this tutorial and also this one. So consider joining today and get the most of Shoutbam. Find the link down below. See you next time.